Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Christopher Stammer. He's from Volu Interactive. He also has a cool LMS project in the industrial laundry niche, where a training project. It's called levelupinthelaundry.com. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Good to be here.
I'm excited to get into it with you. First, let's just level set on what levelupthelaundry.com is. Like, what is that? I find all these interesting niches within training. So what is this niche here?
Oh yeah, this is about as niche as it gets.
Okay.
So Level Up in the Laundry is a training portal for a supervisory skills training program that we developed for one of the largest industry associations for the commercial laundry industry. It's called TRSA. And we have had a relationship with TRSA for about 13 or 14 years now. And they had identified a need for supervisory skills training for people that work in laundry plants. These are commercial laundry plants. So imagine like you doing laundry in your house, but like multiply that times 1,000.
Like hotels and stuff would use this?
Yep.
Right.
So they'll do the laundry and the garments for hotels, restaurants, hospitals, if any sort of an industrial like organization where they have like uniforms that they wear that need to be cleaned on a daily basis, they do it.
So it's the management layer that you're training with the Level Up the Laundry.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, tell us more.
Yeah. So it's the frontline supervisors.
Okay.
These are the people that are walking around these plants and providing assistance to the frontline workers who are actually doing the work, that are manning these stations and these machines and processing the laundry as it moves through these plants. And as you can imagine, being in a production-oriented environment like that is it's pretty challenging, especially when you're up against people that have varying levels of education and varying levels of understanding of the English language. So Level Up in the Laundry provides them supervisory skills training ranging from leadership, communication, decision-making, problem solving, root cause analysis, literally runs the gamut. Really what we wanted to do is just give them the platform, the starting point for them to develop their skills and to perform their jobs effectively as supervisors.
Nice. And in general, how's it going with the website?
The website is going extremely well. And to be honest with you, that was probably one of my biggest concerns when we got into this project about a year ago right now. It was the platform. And it was first of all, what LMS are we going to use?
That's a big question, right?
Yeah.
There's like
it's a huge question.
Yeah.
And coming from a situation where I had never deployed an LMS independently on my own, it was literally keep me awake at night sort of an issue.
Wow. So what tell us about like the decision matrix journey through settling on WordPress and ultimately LifterLMS.
So it was a lot of research.
Yeah.
And going out and finding out all the different solutions that are out there. And my biggest concern was reliability. I wanted to make sure that we didn't launch a couple of courses and then lose everything at some point down the line. Also, my second priority was scalability. I wanted to be able to allow the LMS to grow with us. I wanted to be able to grow the course and expand the course and have the LMS be able to accommodate that. So the journey is just going out, doing a lot of research, developing some evaluation criteria to figure out which LMS is going to be the best for us and the best for the program, and narrowed it down to two or three. And I won't say the names of your competitors, but there are some, essentially there was an option that we were considering that was kind of like a software as a service option where everything was set up. You just kind of plug and play, just kind of put your get your content in there, and they had all the processing, payment processing and all that sort of stuff set up. And I eliminated it because it wasn't customizable.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't going to have the look and the feel that I wanted for the site to have. And then we looked at another WordPress based solution, and it was the same sort of thing. It was cost, and this one was cheaper, but I was a little bit concerned about reliability and also functionality too for that one. So we eliminated that. And LifterLMS wasn't the cheapest solution that we were considering, but in terms of the capability that it had and the level of support that I knew that you and your team were going to be able to provide us, in the end, it was a no-brainer. And ultimately, we went with the Infinity bundle.
Awesome. So that's music to my ears: reliability, customizability, and scalability. That's awesome. I mean, that's what we aim to do here. That's awesome. So I'm glad you found us. How did you I see a lot of people when they're in research mode, they get a little overwhelmed. Like you mentioned, there's some options in WordPress, but then the greater e-learning industry market's huge. There's a lot of SaaS solutions. You said, how long was that experience of like shopping around, and how do you avoid the overwhelm?
I'm overwhelmed every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the LMS for this project was just like a piece.
Right.
Right. Of course, it's the foundational piece, but it was just a piece of the overall program. And then you start talking about all the tools to develop content and that sort of thing. And it's just like, so essentially, yeah, I was initially pretty overwhelmed because there were so many solutions out there. And then, I started getting smart with my searches and tried to look for like top 10, right?
Yeah.
Top 10 best solutions that are out there,
Yeah.
and watch some YouTube videos of people that had actually, gone out and experienced trials of these LMSs, and like listened and watched these videos, these YouTube videos, and looked at these reviews with a very critical eye, a very keen eye, to see if what that person was looking for was what I was looking for. Because sometimes there's a difference, and when they rank these LMSs, their evaluation isn't in line with yours. So you really need to prioritize what you really want out of the LMS when you start with your search. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but you'll learn over time, and you begin to understand what it is you really want. So so there was just a ton that were out there, and and tried out a few as well. Tried out a couple of the LMSs that were out there and had the opportunity to experience them a little bit. But if you don't have any content to put in, that can be a little bit challenging as well. So we went to a lot of demo sites and evaluated the demo sites. And I think when we came to the LifterLMS demo site, I was like, okay, I kind of see how this is all going to work together. And I think this is going to work out really well for us. But then I started to see some of the extra functionality that you had built into the Infinity bundle, like social learning. That was huge. The testing and the badging functionality of Lifter, that was huge too. And I'm glad we did choose LMS or Lifter LMS, because when I actually started to get into it and use it and start to put content in there, it was like layers of an onion that started to become unpeeled. And I was like, oh, it does this? I was like, that's so cool. That's exactly what we need for this. And so now we're off to the races. We're in our second cohort.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, the layers of the onion, I appreciate that. I think that experience comes from the fact that we just build for people like you, and that you guys tell us what you want. And we're not guessing. So like, as like somebody like yourself gets into the tool in the early days, they're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had some community features? Let's gamify this more. Let's, extend in this way or that. So that makes me super happy to say that, or to hear that. How about tell us more about your cohort model. Like, how does it work for this niche? Like, what are you doing? Like, just tell us more about the business model of it.
So it's all driven. The format of the course is totally driven by our users' needs, right?
Okay.
Just like you had gone out and gathered requirements and heard what your customers wanted. we had done a pretty comprehensive needs assessment pre-COVID
Okay.
on people that were plant managers, VPs of operations, general managers of these plants, and also people that were supervisors. And we said, okay, if you were to have some sort of a supervisory skills training program, how would it be deployed? Like, how would you want to go through it? Well, going to a hotel for a boot camp or a 3-day weekend or a week-long training was not going to work, primarily because you just can't pull your supervisors off the plant floor and say, oh, go to training for 3 days, right? Because obviously there is not anybody in the plant to supervise. So they knew that they needed to have something that was remote, right? They needed to have something that could be accessed via the web. But the problem with that is that you lose if it's totally asynchronous, right? Where you have people just accessing the content at will on demand. That's great if it's one person wanting to learn these skills and develop the capabilities of the niche that or whatever it is they're trying to learn. But with this, what we wanted to do something a little bit more community based. We wanted the people that were going through the training together to be able to talk to each other, to be able to communicate with each other, share lessons learned, and be able to learn from each other. So that's when we decided that the best approach for the overall training program was going to be distance learning, but have it be a little bit blended with a couple of real-time sessions built in, where we could bring everybody together and talk about, what we're learning through the program and talk about how to apply the concepts of the program to their actual live environment.
Was that virtual to get people together?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yep.
Because they can't leave the plant. Like, so it was.
Yeah, they can't leave the plant.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So it's virtual, but in real time, live.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So that was cool. So, but also with the program, we wanted to have applied assignments. We wanted to have what we call action assignments, where once you go through a module that consists of several lessons, there's going to be an action assignment that they need to take and apply the learned skills in their own unique environment. And we needed to make sure that we're getting that fed back to us in terms of what it is they're actually completing and the results of those assignments. So, you can only handle so many students at one time. So that's one of the reasons why we capped off our seats at 25 for each cohort. And so you'll register for a cohort and there are a limited number of seats. So you're in a group with 25 and you go through the training program all at the relative same time, theoretically. Because as you know, with with prerequisites built in and having the capability to what do you call it, like trickle your learning?
Drip content.
Yeah, with the drip content.
Yeah.
With the drip content, what we'll do is for each module, we release a new module every Tuesday. It doesn't mean you have to be 100% finished with the content in the previous module. It just means that the next module is going to open up and now you'll have access to it. So some people are falling a little bit further behind others. Some people are like, boom, boom, want to get it done as fast as possible and, provide us some really good results with the action assignments. Other people are a little bit more lax in terms of their access to the materials. So anyway, so that's the cohort model. We found that it works really well, brings people together, helps develop a network. And that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to create an ecosystem of supervisors that can get to know each other. And as they start to become more involved in industry events through TRSA, which is, this industry association, they're going to be motivated to want to go to some of TRSA's other events down the line.
That's awesome. I noticed on your pricing for the cohorts, you had like a TRSA members only price and then a non-TRSA members price. So people just, if they are members, they get the benefit of cheaper pricing, basically.
Yeah, that's right. They have the privilege of spending less on the program. And, we just want to make sure that we're incentivizing people to become members of the industry association. So that way they can get preferred discounting, not only on this program, but other programs as well. And it works to their benefit in the long run because, being involved in a member-oriented industry association, there are a lot of benefits.
Tell us more about you in terms of like the kind of your niche. And what I mean by that is there's lots of different people that use LifterLMS and WordPress. There's course creators, there's website builders, web developers, um, curriculum providers. And I'm looking at the voluinteractive.com website, and you mentioned the e-learning website is just a piece of the stack. So like, what is your niche in the training world here?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Well, my company started as Voluminant in
Okay.
2004.
All right.
And we are, I should say, because we're kind of same company, just different emphasis, right? We're a business performance improvement firm.
Okay.
So we'll go into organizations and we'll try to improve their operation from a strategic, operational, behavioral, or information technology perspective. So our relationship with companies' clients is we'll do a wall-to-wall analysis, identify areas of opportunity, and then construct a project around it to improve the operation as a whole. And that model worked for us up until about 2019, even before COVID, right? We realized that when we were going in and we were doing these laser focused performance improvement programs, 80% of the programs were oriented around training.
Okay.
Right? It's not just about the process stuff is great, but you know what? Anytime you make a process change or implement any sort of a change within an organization, there's got to be that tactical offset. There's that human element. So most of what we were doing was focused on training, and we made kind of a pivot in 2019. We said, you know what? We love the training element because it has an impact on people, and you're engaging with your audience. Let's just focus our organization on training. So we still do the strategic stuff and the business performance improvement stuff, and stuff oriented around project management, enhancing project success. But the bulk majority of what we do is focused on training. So from there, we had already developed a whole slew of training programs that were kind of legacy training programs that were either delivered on site, live, in person, or we had some online components of those. Some were kind of like blended between those two. And we said, yeah, we should really just focus on these and start to deploy these programs virtually and shift them away from there being a live element to where people can just access the content on demand. And that's another reason why I wanted to buy the Infinity bundle. Is the intent was, sure, we're going to launch Level Up in the Laundry, but we also have 4 other programs that we want to get online that can be delivered, through LifterLMS, and that's where we're going.
And so you guys are creating the content, not just the website for the training, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And end-to-end solution. So we'll do the needs assessment, develop the content, host, put the content into Lifter. And in the case of Level Up in the Laundry, we actually facilitate it as well and administer the program.
Wow, that's awesome. It's very full stack.
Yep, for sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's very, very time and energy intensive. It's also one of the reasons why, we're kind of in growth mode right now to get, a new program manager in for Level Up in the Laundry, and, get a couple of associates in as well to support that program and grow it, but also to expand some of our other programs.
So in this model with Level Up in the Laundry, was TRSA the client?
TRSA is the client. Yep.
Yeah.
And actually the relationship they initially started as the client, and they segued into being kind of a business partner. I mean,
I was wondering that because you're very deeply integrated in helping them improve in some
Yeah.
significant ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes back to the ongoing relationship that my company has had with TRSA, over 13 or 14 years, and our relationship with the executive team there, and also the office team there. They're just amazing people. And because of that relationship and the trust that they had in us, Joe Ricci, who's the CEO of TRSA, is trusting Volu Interactive to kind of take the reins on this program and move it forward, and to facilitate, administer it, and also to market it and sell it to his industry as well. So it's been, it is a true partnership in every sense of the word.
Would you consider TRSA an association?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They're a professional association.
Professional association. So like, I see. And you said there's more projects you wanted to get into. Are those with other associations? Like,
No, they
okay.
aren't.
Okay.
So the association world is a tough nut to crack,
Mm.
right? I live here in Alexandria, Virginia. It is the association headquarters of the world,
Mm.
definitely of the United States, and I have worked with many of them. And yeah, the associations are tough because, first of all, they operate very lean,
Okay.
especially now, especially recovering from COVID, where a lot of their industry events were just, they were cooked. They just did not have them in 2021, sometimes 2020, 2022. And they're still making up for that shortfall. So for them to invest thousands, if not hundreds of $1,000s in a training program, it's a big ask at this point. And also, a lot of the associations, they operate lean.
Okay.
It's like they outsource a lot of their work. And I'm not talking about their training work. They outsource like their admin work
Okay.
and their marketing work. So you end up calling one of these associations and they have like 3 people that work there full time, and they
Okay.
outsource everything else in terms of the admin. So to go in there and actually pitch a training project is can be very difficult. We tried varying levels of success outside of TRSA, that is.
You mentioned on your website, on the Volue website, industrial, medical, military, technology. Is that where you see a lot of opportunity in those
Yeah,
areas?
yeah. So being here outside of Washington D.C., we have access to a huge federal market, and that too can be a difficult nut to crack, primarily because you're beholden to federal acquisition guidelines, regulations, and the contracting process to
Slow
win work.
sales cycle,
It is a
right?
very slow sales cycle.
Yeah.
Actually, I was training last week at the State Department, and we were talking about the procurement process and the acquisitions process. It's clunky, it's cumbersome, but it's designed for a reason. It's set up that way for a reason, for fair and open competition for all sorts of vendors, not just the biggest companies and biggest contractors that are out there. So those are like the 4 niches that we really are focused on, primarily because the medium that we use as a company is well suited for those industries. So where we're going right now is in a lot of interactive multimedia, leveraging 360, leveraging virtual reality, leveraging 3D technology, and putting people in immersive situations like that virtually, where you can, get Google Cardboard, whatever on your phones, and leverage some of the apps and some of the programs that we're developing.
So like simulations, like virtual reality simulations and things?
Exactly. So it was really, really funny. Just a really quick story. Um, as we were developing Level Up in the Laundry, right? It was like January, February, and we were still trying to figure out exactly what LMS we were going to use,
Yeah.
right? And I think we had made a decision to go with Lifter in like January, early February, something like that. We finally made the decision. And then in March, they had the TRSA board meeting and they wanted me to come in and show them some of the content for this program and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, this content's not developed. I mean, it's one of those
Right.
situations where, and
Yeah.
actually, fast forward 6 months, we had the first cohort running and they're going through module 1 and 2, and we're developing module 4 and 5, right? We
That's the
wanted to,
classic way to do it. I
oh,
mean,
it's
what
totally classic.
what
And it's,
but you're one step ahead and, like, you've got the validation, there's a market there, and you're
yeah,
moving. I mean, that's
yeah.
what the first round's like.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
really all we wanted to do with the first cohort is just get to an MVP,
Yeah.
right? And once we got to that minimally viable product, we knew that we could expand on that. We just wanted to have a good starting point, wanted to have a good foundation. So anyway, I have to stand up and present to this board. And these are like CEOs of like Alsco, UniFirst, Cintas, like these big commercial laundry and uniform companies. And I don't want to bore you with all the machinations, but I needed something to show them, something that like, I could put meat on the bones, right?
Right.
So I developed the night before a simulation of walking into a commercial laundry facility and walking around and I had 360-degree video on my desktop. So I was like, that's cool. Right. So I had that available to me as a resource to use. So I developed this simulation where you could walk in and look around and identify like what we call variances, things that you do not want to have in your plant, like slip, trip, and fall hazards, garbage cans overfilling, people wearing Uggs instead of like steel toe shoes.
Yeah.
Right. So it enables, so you go in, you look at the scene and you look around and you click, oh, I see something. And then, it opens up and you score points and that sort of thing. So I spent like 4 hours developing this thing. There are 3 scenes that you go through, and I launched it. And I showed it to them at this board meeting. Everybody's wowed. They're like, oh, this is what the program is going to be all about. I'm sold. I'm in. Right.
That's awesome.
So yeah. And that was just kind of like a BS like app that I developed, just to kind of show them what could happen and what the program is going to include at some point. I actually did integrate what I developed into the program, but there's but that was pretty much the only highly interactive component. There's going to be more of that stuff coming down the line.
In sales, I call that a mic drop moment. You just engineered the perfect mic drop moment. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of the layers of the onion, as an instructional designer yourself, there's like the e-learning website. We've talked about like some virtual plant manager, virtual meetups. You got some simulation. In your view, particularly in this B2B business to business training niche, what's a stat? Like, you've got LifterLMS and the WordPress website delivering content that drips out. You've got the virtual meetings, you got the simulations. Like, what's the perfect training stack for B2B training in your view? Not necessarily brands, but types of things to really make training work online.
That's a good question. Well, I would say the first and foremost, the most important thing is, I mean, you got to get people to come in and buy the program.
Yeah.
You have to get customers. And the only way you're going to get customers is if you're able to merchandise and promote the benefits of the program.
Yeah.
And that's got to jump out to them on that front page, on that landing page for whatever your program is. If somebody is looking at that front page and they start to scroll down and they don't see what's in it for them or how it's going to benefit their organization, you're lost. They're going to abandon the site and they're gone. And they may never come back. Or worse, they may have a conversation with somebody and go, oh yeah, I looked at that program and yeah, it just doesn't, there's other stuff that's out there. Right. And it's really hard for us, right, for custom developers, because we're competing with what's right in front of people's faces every day. We're competing with like LinkedIn Learning. And I've gone through that and I'm like, okay, LinkedIn Learning, right? And people mention it. They mentioned it on that needs assessment that we did, before COVID for Level Up and Laundry. They're like, oh yeah, we use that for things. And I'm like, really? I'm like, how does that stuff apply to you? It's like relatively generic. And admittedly, I haven't really done a deep dive in LinkedIn Learn. And then there are these other sites that are out there, the ones that, when you're on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they're right there. They're promoting themselves because they've got millions of dollars of venture capital backing them. You're watching YouTube TV and there's an ad for Masterclass or something like that. That's who you're competing against.
Right.
That's who you're competing against. So the advantage is that a lot of that stuff is like 1,000-foot level. Whereas if you're like us, as somebody who's a custom developer and you've got a niche or you've got a talent that you want to sell, you're like 500-foot level. And in order to merchandise yourself, you have to be able to explain to people what the benefit is going to be for them to invest, $100, $200, $500, whatever in your program. And you have to be able to do that. So that front page is really, really, really crucial and really important. And the ease of conversion, right? Being able to go from looking at that, identifying what the benefit is, to buying it easily. That's crucial. So that would probably be the most important thing.
Nice. What are some of your favorite things about LifterLMS?
Oh man. So I would say my favorite part about LifterLMS is, God, there's so many good things about it. Like literally, like we were talking about it before the interview, there's just like so many things that I didn't know it had the capability to do. So many things that I didn't realize that I needed when I first was going out and looking for an LMS. I would, you know what, I would say that my favorite thing about it is, and some people that are watching this may not know that this functionality exists. Maybe they don't have access to it because they don't have the Infinity bundle. But my favorite thing is being able, when somebody completes an assignment or a lesson, not only can you automatically, send them a badge, right? Or when you approve their assignment, like for us, people will get an assignment back, and if they pass with whatever the threshold is, 90%, 85, 60%, whatever, we'll hit accept their assignment, and then they get a badge sent to them right away. And also on the timeline, the social learning aspect of the site, everybody else sees that they get a badge, right?
Right.
That's really cool. But in addition to that, it's the email that you can customize,
Right.
and that you can send out. And it's mail merge, right? I mean, the fields are all in there where, it's all customized. So when people get that email message, they think that you actually put together the email message saying, "Hey, great job on putting together, or completing that exercise, or, completing the lesson," or whatever it was. That's pretty cool. And the delay that you can put in there too, where like, you put in a day delay or a 2-day delay. That's really cool too, because I mean, and I'm not saying like we want to like bamboozle people and thinking that the message came from you, and it really didn't, like it was automatically generated. It did come from you. Like, that message is going out to them.
Right.
But having it be able to have, and you would probably send a message like that as a facilitator or course instructor, but if you've got 500 people going through your course, if
Yeah.
you've got 20 people going through your course, there's no way you're going to be able to reach out and interact with everybody in your class, or within your cohort in this case. So having the functionality for that to happen automatically, I think, is really, really powerful. So the way that we use it is about halfway through the course, which is a 3-month course, right? Where we actually have a module released every week over the course of 10 weeks. And then there are a couple of weeks where we have off because we have a live webinar. About halfway through, when they complete that assignment, boom, they get an email message that says, "Hey, congratulations. We really appreciate your level of engagement, the time, effort, and energy you're putting into the class. Keep up the good work. We're halfway there." And people are just like, "Oh," they're like, "That's so cool. I just got a message, from the person that's running the program." So I think that's really powerful. The other thing that I really like is just the reporting capabilities. I also like the integration of the payment process,
Yeah, that's
with
good.
Stripe and PayPal. That's pretty cool too, because that was an area of concern for me. And to just click a couple buttons, open up a Stripe account, boom, it's like so easy.
Yeah,
Like you guys have
making
made
money.
that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, of course. I mean, you guys have made that integration really easy. So, but yeah, just yeah, so those are really, really great aspects of the program and of Lifter.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And I
Sure.
just wanted to ask, you've kind of gone into it, but it's really got me intrigued. This idea of, if you're a training provider, um, and you're talking to these businesses, and there's the LinkedIn learnings and the master class and the high level stuff. And it seems like what you're saying is that when you focus and really niche down and get at that 500-foot level, like, oh, I help this specific industry, and the content is not generic about business in general. It's like super specific. And the platform I want to deliver that on needs to be flexible, like WordPress is. And like you said, you built an awesome landing page that really sells the benefits and flows right into the LMS in your own way, unique for that industry. I guess, what other advice do you have for somebody who's wanting to maybe they're just building websites right now, but they're also really into like leadership and management, and they want to kind of add this training piece, or they're trainers and they're wanting to move it online and get into the WordPress uh, LMS side of things. Like, tell us more about that sweet spot of, B2B niche training, and how somebody can really get into that, and why use WordPress versus other options.
Yeah. So you kind of are wading into a really interesting area here,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like WordPress. A lot of people feel like WordPress is not a stable platform, right? And what I realized as a result of recently switching hosts to a host that you guys have, I think you have a relationship with them or promoted, from another host that was like one of the biggest ones in the country,
Yeah.
world potentially. Um, you need to make sure that you're with the right host first and foremost,
Right.
because you know, even with our other WordPress oriented websites that we've developed, not only for our own company websites, but also portals for some of our other training offerings that we have that we developed, I found that the performance of those sites was not good because we were using the wrong host. So you really need to use a host that's fast, that's reliable. And also, I had a nightmare story or a nightmare situation where we moved over to another host that was like known as like the best WordPress host in the
Mm.
world, and they were terrible. Like
Mm.
they ended up, like the site ended up crashing. Like we just couldn't access it one day. And
Oh
then I
wow.
went into the admin panel and I couldn't get into anything. And I got on customer support, which was, real on the other side of the world. And they blamed me. They
Right.
said, hey, yeah, somebody went in on your side and erased all these files. And I'm thinking to myself, it wasn't me. And they said, well, maybe it was, maybe somebody, penetrated your website and deleted all your files and everything. I'm thinking to myself, why would somebody do that? Right. This like little nichey, company organization. Why would somebody do that? But anyway, so we never were able to figure out what the root cause was. I just bailed. I just said, I'm out of here. I'm going to go with a different host. So finally we're with a host that's really good and we love them. And I can't believe how fast it is interacting with Lifter on the back end with that. Like I can have two versions. I can have Lifter open on two um, whatchamacallit, tabs, right,
Right.
on Mozilla, and I can like make changes to the site on one, and I can see the changes on the other side. And it's just reliable, and it's fast, and it's seamless, and it works really well. Knock on wood, right? Just watch what happens this afternoon.
Do you mind sharing who the awesome host is that you're enjoying?
Yeah, our host is Hostinger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And they're just really, really good. And I don't know what makes them so good. But I also spent the money on one of the premium plans that has, some of the fastest bandwidth and the most capacity, just because, I mean, I want to make sure that as we get more students enrolled in this program and in our other programs, that we don't lose the data. Right? We want to make sure things are being backed up routinely and we don't lose the data, which is really crucial. And that was a lesson learned with our last site. So that's probably the first consideration, is just making sure that the backbone and the platform is solid and good. The other consideration, using WordPress versus some other solution that's out there is just, I mean, well, first of all, LifterLMS, you can integrate it with just about any theme.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And something like you guys said when we were first interacting, when we were getting ready to roll out the site, some themes are better than others, but it will probably work. Probably it will work with just about any theme that's out there. Right. We haven't tried it with any other themes yet, but like
What are
we
you
have,
using? What theme
yeah.
do you like?
What's that?
What theme do you like? What are you using?
Well, I mean, I think we're using Cadence
Cadence.
right,
Yeah, it's very
right now.
popular.
Yeah.
That's a solid
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
And I know you guys started to push. There's a new one that just came out.
Sky Pilot is
Right.
one we make. We've always had our own theme, but Cadence is awesome. Astra is huge. We have a lot of Divi people, but like you said, it can work with a lot of different themes. But
Yeah.
Cadence is a great one.
Yeah. So I'm looking to see what we can do with Sky Pilot, but you know how the problem, how it is with WordPress themes. Like you get to learn one
Yeah.
and you get comfortable with it, and then you're like, oh yeah, you install a new theme and you have to relearn it all
Right.
over again. So what I need, we have another site. It's called Industrial Athlete University, and this one focuses on it's industrial skills training, primarily for logistics and distribution. Like I'm getting ready to implement or to install Lifter on that site, right? In that install. But first I need to migrate everything away from our old host over to Hostinger. So that way I know that this thing actually works. So knowing that you've got a theme that works well with Lifter, and because they're all going to work, but knowing that it's going to work seamlessly with Lifter and that the appearance is going to be good is another consideration that needs to be made. But the biggest thing for us with WordPress as a platform and as a starting point for our Lifter LMS is just the scalability and also the price. I mean, you look at some of these SaaS LMSs that are out there.
It's like a car.
It is like a car, and then they start to charge you per
Yeah.
trainee. And like one organization we were talking to, they're like, oh yeah, it's something like it's only $40 per seat. And I'm thinking to myself, $40 per seat? Are you joking? I'm like, that's
Right.
crazy. I'm like, there's just no way. So I wanted to make sure that when we're starting relatively small, that we're not losing our shirt and we can actually get some revenue generating where we can now expand and build from there. So yeah, that was the biggest thing. So it's like just scalability and price and just the being able to make it so it looks how you want it to look and it matches the mission of the program and also matches what your audience expects. Those are key elements.
Awesome. And a couple quick lightning round questions here.
Sure.
For Volume, what's the team size or what are the roles in the company for a company like this to really work? Even just building a website, doing sale, like what are the roles here?
The roles or the number of people you need?
I like the number of people and then like what function, like could one person do this business?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
by themselves.
I think so.
But tell us like where Volume's at today, if it's how many
Yeah.
people?
So we have a relatively small team. We've got about 5 people that work within the company full time. And then we've got a cadre of developers and subcontractors that we use to really focus on some of the content stuff. And then, as I mentioned to you, with Level Up in the Laundry, we're looking to hire a couple of people to actually facilitate the program and continue to expand on it. Sometimes we've got things that we want to do, we want to incorporate into the programs that we just don't have the in-house capability to do and don't have the time to do, in which case we need to outsource it. I know now there's like this movement to outsourcing everything to like, on Guru or Upwork or whatever. There are all these sites that are out there. But the problem with that is now you've got to manage all of these people and you've got to wait for the jobs to come back and that sort of thing. One of the most important things for me is to get as much work as we possibly can get done here locally. That way we're supporting our economy, and I'm also supporting, people that are, coming up through the ranks and are starting to develop their skills and want to expand their skills, kind of like I was 20 years ago. And where the people that are actually doing the work can interface with our customers and can go and actually have a weekly status meeting with a customer, down the road here, like in the federal government. So to answer your question, if you've got a really compelling subject matter and a good message that you want to train, that you think people are going to want to hear, and there is a tangible benefit to it, then a single person can do this. They can. Now there's going to be a learning curve, of course, like with everything, but Lifter makes it easy. I mean, just once you get into it and you start using it and you understand how things are structured and how to actually incorporate and integrate the data into the LMS, it's pretty straightforward, and you can create something that's pretty compelling and that's attractive. But the key is to make sure that you've got good material. You want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, and you're presenting it in a way that makes sense, in a way that people understand it and that's appealing to them, and they're able to say, "Oh yeah, I get it. I know what's in it for me. I know how this is going to benefit me and make me better at doing whatever it is that I do." So I would say that for us, that's like kind of a growing small business. I'm in a role now where I'm more of a business development person. Like I'm out there in having ongoing conversations with current customers to look at more work, look at other programs. Just through Level Up, I mean, 3 or 4 other companies have contacted us have contacted me and said, hey, we want you to actually develop our LMS. We want you to develop our internal corporate training, and integrate these modules into our own portal. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm kind of like the front man that interacts with people, identifies the requirements, and then I'll work pretty closely, but I want to delegate the actual development of the materials and the program itself to people underneath me, to developers and some of the associates we have working with us. So, I mean, it just all depends on where you want to go. The problem with hiring more people and bringing people into your organization and growing your organization is that now you need to manage those people, and management takes time, right? The drawback is that if it's just you, and I saw a couple of your case studies that were out there, if it's just you and you've got compelling content, if that's all you're going to do, you better make sure that you've got the revenue to support your lifestyle.
Right.
Right. If you're going to be developing multiple training programs, you're going to get stretched thin very, very quickly, and then quality suffers, or when something goes wrong, you can't troubleshoot as quickly. So it just really depends on, what your mission is and where you see yourself and your organization going, over the next year, 5 years, 10 years.
Can you give us a quick pro tip on how to get clients? You just kind of mentioned it a little bit with like going out and connecting in the associations and doing active business development. But if somebody wants to get into like finding a client like TRSA, or like, how does one do that?
Yeah. So what I would do is just buy a mailing list and just spam everybody. Isn't that what it seems like everybody is doing now?
Yeah, right? My email inbox is insane. I mean, the email spam alone is like, insane. But
yeah, tell me about it. And I get hit up I get 5 or 6 messages a day from these agencies, so-called agencies, that tell me that they're gonna book me, 5 to 10 meetings a month.
Appointment setters.
Appointment setters. Yeah. And it's all through email blasts.
Yeah.
Right. So the common like the zeitgeist lately has been just blast emails to people that you think are potential clients. What I found is that I usually sabotage my reputation doing that. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of an annoyance than anything else. And I think right now people see through the merges and, in the emails themselves, and their names being in the subject lines. And, I think those days have passed. Now you see a lot more people moving to social media, to Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook to a certain extent. You see people marketing through there with varying levels of success. And, the catch here is that it really just depends on the segment that you're going after, right? People in the commercial laundry industry and the people that we're targeting, who are like plant managers and general managers of plants, guess what? They ain't on Instagram, right? They're not out there promoting themselves and then, putting pictures online, every day. I mean, it's essentially the best way to reach those people is the old fashioned way, is picking up the phone and calling them.
Yeah.
And thankfully we have, at least in this case, we have an industry association that has, a database of all of these people. And I have not asked TRSA or the CEO of TRSA, Joe, for that information. When we go out and we do outbound marketing and I call these people, I have not a service. I've got access to, an online resource where I can find what those companies are based off of their NICS codes or the SIC codes. And I see them pop up. I pick up the phone and I call. And I say, hey, listen, this is what we've developed. This is what it does. There's some of the results we've been able to accomplish, even, in our second cohort. How interested would you be in sending somebody to the training program? And then, like you had mentioned in one of your training courses, it's like if they're new, I wouldn't expect for them to pay full price the first time they go through it. You can offer offering them an incentive through couponing or, promo codes via LifterLMS, which is awesome. Another cool functionality, because we made pretty heavy use of it when we first launched the program. Say, I tell you what, for this first run, we'll give you 20% off. or we'll do a twofer. Send 2 people. We'll only charge you for 1. I just want you to experience the program, experience the benefits of the program. And then once you get them, they're like, this is, if you got a really compelling product, they're like, this is really cool. Yeah, I want to send more people to the program. So that's probably, but if you've got some sort of a product, some sort of a solution or training program that appeals to a wider audience, then you can leverage other tools like Instagram and Twitter, and do the outbound blast emails and that sort of thing. We just choose not to do it just because we're usually going after niche companies and organizations.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that, Chris. I know we're up on time. I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey into building up, level up in the laundry.com and what you're up to at Volu as a training provider. It's such a cool story. You have my respect and admiration for all that you've done, not just in building the website, but doing the sales, doing the B2B, creating the training yourself, and helping other companies grow. Part of what makes me excited and keeps me in this niche is, we create a tool that then other people use to send out like this positive impact in the world. And in the B2B context, also help people make more money and create jobs and all that stuff. It's really awesome. So any final words for the people? And go check out levelupinthelaundry.com and Volu Interactive or voluinteractive.com. Any final words, Chris?
No, all I can say is thank you, Chris. Thank you to you and to Will and the entire LifterLMS team. You've created a really great program. And just as an aside, I was not paid to say any of this to anybody. You've created a really great application and platform for learning. And literally, we wouldn't be where we are with this second cohort if it weren't for you and this fantastic application. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Awesome, Chris. Well, we'll have to check in down the road and maybe do another one of these in a year or two.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely more to come.